my people, and if you're watching live, checking us out on YouTube, or listening on your favorite podcast provider, you are most definitely my people. Welcome to another episode of Botched, Spots, and Chair Shots. We still have high hopes of delivering quality wrestling content, but if not, we'll sprinkle in some champions or, Jake Crist, so we can still get over. I'm your host, a chef by trade and a mark by choice. I am the Will Gray, and I'm glad to be here on this journey. And tonight, that journey is a very special guest. Joining me tonight is a former XDivision Champion. He is literally and figuratively lighting the wrestling world on fire. He's Jake Crist. Jake, thanks for coming on to chat about some wrestling, man. How are you?
Great. How are you, man? What an introduction. That was awesome. What a mouthful.
Dude, I like it.
It's like you've done this a time or two. It's amazing.
I try to sound as eloquent as possible because the rest of the time I'm just going to fumble through it and sound like a mark who likes to talk about wrestling. So that's just all it is.
Man, that's what we all are, brother. I love it.
So I'm going to start with something kind of fresh. It seems to be a hot topic for you, literally and figuratively. I'm going to say three things, and you can just give me your best current opinions on these things. The IWA Midsouth, Ian Rotten, and a certain set of title belts that were lit on fire.
Yeah, Ian owed me some money, so took him about a month to actually get a answer out of him for him to actually talk to me. He ghosted me a few weeks. I did a Twitter post probably a week and a half, 2 weeks before I set both the IWA World and Junior Championships on fire. But my opinion about IWA, I think they got great young talent. But as far as Ian Rotten goes, he's always kind of been a cancer in this business. And I'm a big believer that you give people second chances. And, that's exactly what I gave Ian. I believe that he was going to change, like he said he was changing, to be a positive person that people could look up to this business. So I gave him that chance. And then once he, backpedaled or took that away from the relationship that him and I had, I just knew that he was just going to continue to give me the runaround. So, I'm a big believer in don't let your kindness be weakness, and don't let people take advantage of that. And that's exactly what I let Ian do. There was a few shows that I gave him forfeited my full pay to make sure the younger guys got paid, got a little bit of extra money, in their pockets so they could, get gas or get, food on the road. So there was a few times that I did that for him. There was a couple times I felt bad for him and just gave him my payday because, there was no fans there, and it just literally felt bad. And I was in a position in my life where, maybe the pay I didn't need it as much. Fast forward, now times is hard for anyone and everyone. And he owed me my house payment. Literally my house payment. So, I had to do what I had to do and the rest is history. He burnt that bridge, so I burned his belts.
Now that the unpleasantries are out of the way, let's talk about something a little bit more positive. You came up in the Midwest circuit of the independent region and cut your teeth there. Now that you've spent some time all over the country working with some bigger promotions, what are the biggest differences you see when you go territory to territory on the independent scene?
Well, that's a great question. You could definitely down south, they like to be heckled and talked to. East Coast, where I cut my teeth in on the East Coast in Combat Zone and a little bit of Ring of Honor days stints on the East Coast, you could literally set yourself on fire, pun intended, and not get a reaction, especially the CZW fans. So they really, really put a bad taste in my mouth. Between you and I, the East Coast is the worst coast. The West Coast, well, that is the best coast. Midwest is always dope because I think Midwest is the best place to be in the United States, not only as a fan but as a wrestler as well. Because I mean, take for instance Dayton. I'm in Chicago, 5.5, 6 hours. I can be in like Toronto at like 7 or 8 hours. Same thing with Philadelphia. So I mean, literally, you can go anywhere and everywhere if you're like stationed and based out of Ohio. So I recommend anyone that's want to do this for a living and you're aspiring to do this, get your ass to the Midwest because that's the best. That's the best place to be. The West Coast, it's cool and all. I love going to LA. If I could, I'd make LA my home. But as far as wrestling, there's nothing out there. As far as the East Coast, I feel like there's nothing out there anymore either, except for horrible fans. And I do mean horrible, horrible fans. You guys fucking suck. If it was up to me, I would never wrestle on the East Coast for the rest of my career.
I recently had somebody from the business bring up not just the East Coast, but ECW in general. And he said that the ECW crowd ruined pro wrestling because of the way they handle themselves and the way he said you've said it once before in reference to another person, but they almost became a cancer in the business because they didn't care anymore. They wanted guys to set themselves on fire, or there just wasn't a pop. Do you feel like the ECW crowd was kind of that shift on that East Coast on what those fans specifically expected in that territory?
It could be. I mean, they did a lot of crazy things, and it seemed like they pulled a lot of people that looked like they should be wrestling, in the crowd, or like straight up out of the crowd to wrestle in the ring. But I mean, like, there's ECW. I was a fan of ECW, especially if you actually got into like super crazy Jerry Lynn, RVD, Tajiri, Rhino. Those guys were amazing. Even Tommy Dreamer. Tommy Dreamer was an awesome wrestler. But like, then you got into like Sandman was never, my thing. Like, to me, he looked like, a fan that was literally sitting front row and thrown into a wrestling ring. Yeah, he can do some cool drunken flips, but I mean, at the end of the day, it was, it is what it is. But I mean, I can't blame at all on ECW because ECW is the reason why I got into it. I looked at those guys and was like, I can totally do this. And I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. That's not for me to judge. But as far as, like, I don't know if the business, in my mind, I wouldn't consider it ruined. I wouldn't even say it is ruined, because I enjoy wrestling today, and I enjoy, watching matches, from the 80s and 90s. You go back any further than that, it just kind of gets a little bit too, boring for me. But that's just me. People may shit on me and hate me for that, but that's my personal beliefs.
A lot of people say that late 80s blend towards the end of the golden era into the 90s and attitude era was when sports entertainment really took off as being the encompassing unit of professional wrestling. Do you feel like before that point, do you feel like there was ever a point where pro wrestling and sports entertainment weren't synonymous with each other?
No, even if you think of like the old WWF commercials. I'm sorry, I didn't bleep the F. The WWF commercials, you would see them calling themselves, sports entertainment, Titan Sports, the best in all sports entertainment, or whatever that shit was. So I mean, like, I think sports entertainment, wrestling always kind of gone hand in hand. And I think just nowadays with, I think that's just, a thing that people want to, I don't know, try to stick in there and talk about and try to par off like, oh, I'm sports entertainer. Oh, no, I'm a wrestler. But I'll tell you this, my first visa to Japan shocked the shit out of me when I got it back and it said entertainer. So I told everybody ever since that day that I'm an entertainer. That's what it said on my visa going to Japan.
So, when you had a chance to work in Japan, did the fans react differently to an American style than they do the Japanese strong styles? Was there an adapting period for you, kind of acclimating to what the Japanese fans wanted to see?
No, I just always kind of wrestled my own kind of style. The weird thing is I've kind of strived the 20 years that I've been doing this to kind of create my own style that would work anywhere and everywhere, in any part of the world. Kind of like how Bruce Lee did with martial arts. Has always kind of been my goal since day one. So I've always wanted to learn the different styles. That's why if you really look at all the professional wrestler, there's a lot of guys that talk shit and say that they do anything and everything. But I mean, like, do you really? Like, I really do death matches. I really do, wrestle lucha libre. I really do wrestle pure style. I can really do, hard hitting, strong style, like you just mentioned. So, I mean, like, if you really, really think about it, I am using a wide brush when I paint the world of professional wrestling. When I say literally, there is not a person out there that can do what I can do in the ring as far as death matches, psychology, wrestling, any kind of style. I'm not trying to sound, big-headed or arrogant here. I'm just speaking the truth here, and it's about time that the world knows that that's exactly what I've been trying to do since day one.
So as you rattle off the different styles you're comfortable in, do you feel like the psychology behind each match is different based on your opponent? If you know you've got somebody who is a luchador, are you going to adapt the story to fit his style and take your luchador styles to help him? In a death match, do you approach a death match different than you would a pure style? Do you see what I'm saying?
Absolutely. Absolutely, yeah. I approach every match differently and unique. As again, one thing that I've always done since day one is I've wrestled like it's going to be my last. Like, it's going to be my last match, because you never know. Like, as morbid and as dark as this may sound, like the Born to Die Jake Crist just isn't a gimmick. I've been living by that the whole time that I've been doing this. So it's like I could be going home from a show, get into a car accident, lose my life. That could be my last match that day. And I always looked at it as me being a fan of, like, my favorite wrestlers when they passed away. Like Eddie Guerrero, when he passed away, he wrestled Ken Anderson. So that was his last match. Was in WWE. So I went back in the Minneapolis and I watched this match. So I always kind of went back and thought of that, because with Eddie Guerrero being my favorite wrestler, what if I'm somebody else's favorite wrestler out there? Like, this might be my last match. You're always going to go back and watch your favorite's last match. How it is. They want to see how everything ended or whatever. It's just the curiosity of it all. Because I was curious.
So I'm going to ask you a question. Yesterday I was told by somebody that the young guys in the business today aren't going up to the vets and asking for advice. He was like, if you want to be great in the business, approach somebody who's paid their bills in the wrestling business. Do you feel like there's been this disjointedness between this generation and the generation before, now that you're 20 years into the business? Do you see a lot of the differences now versus even the late 90s when you came into it?
Yeah, there's a huge difference. I came in 2001.
Okay.
And I guess it's close to late 90s, but yeah, 2001 is a big difference. Back when I broke in, I would actually pull the veterans aside and I would ask them to go out of my way to watch my match and get their critiques. So, of course, everybody wants to be told what they did good at, but like, that wasn't my whole premise or whole reasoning behind it. I wanted to get better. I want to be told what I was done wrong. Versus nowadays where guys just want to be told what they did right. And I get it. I totally get it. But that's not how you get better. It's not how you get better at all. But and nowadays, guys will just ask you like, "Hey, did you watch my match?" No, you didn't ask me. Like, I'm not gonna go. Like, why would I watch your match when you didn't ask? So there's a lot of maybe discommunication when it comes to the younger and the older talent. Maybe it's being intimidated, but I've always given anyone and everyone straight up honest critiques and advice if they want it. But like, I'm also not going to tell you what you've done amazingly. I'll give you the compliment sandwich if that's what it takes. But I mean, it is changed, but I mean, it's also, I feel like it's kind of changed for the better in some aspects too.
Okay, so you spent some time in Impact Wrestling as the XDivision Champion. A lot of people see that as being the working man's division, the strongest workers in on the Impact division. When you got that call and they were like, "Hey, you're getting the strap. You're the guy now." What was the first thing that came to mind?
I couldn't believe it. I was also pulled aside and I was explained why, and the explanation why was just, I'll take that. It was such an amazing accomplishment in my career. It damn near brought a tear to my eye, especially the guy that pulled me aside and was telling me that, "Hey man, this doesn't happen with guys up there." They recognize and realize that you are what you just described, a working man, and you bust your ass every time you're in the ring. So we want to award you. So when that was said to me, it was literally like a dream come true. I was pinching myself, like, am I going to wake up anytime soon? And then when it actually happened and I got to wrestle one of my best friends in the business, and Rich Swann, it was just the icing on the cake.
I recently got to meet Rich at the Slammiversary weekend here in Nashville, and he was a fantastic dude, top to bottom. Absolute great guy.
He's amazing. Love him. Love him to death.
He was. I got to meet him and a couple of the other Impact guys, and it was primo. All of them were just top notch. A couple more questions. I know you're at a baseball game for the family. 10 times out of 10 represent that. I'm a family man, got a couple kids myself. I have to ask about Juggalo Championship Wrestling as somebody who grew up as an ICP fan. What was it like working with Juggalo Championship Wrestling?
I loved being a ring rider. I was ring rider red, and it was awesome. It was a dream come true because I was a Juggalo kid. I loved ICP ever since I was 14 years old, when I found out that they came and wrestled at ECW, and then they went to, WCW and then WWF, or was it the other way around? I can't remember. It may have been WCW last. Yeah, I think WCW was last. But yeah, like, I was a huge Juggalo. Loved ICP. So when I got to actually work with them, and I actually got to be a clown on stage and throw Fago at 2 of the gatherings, so that was pretty fun and cool in its own self. But wrestling for the clowns was always awesome. They gave me a bonus. Violent J gave me a bonus once. Said that was one of the best matches I've ever seen him live, if not the best match I've ever seen live. And he gave me an extra $100 and said I could pick out a T-shirt and have the new CD that came out. I think it was Mighty Death Pop.
Nice. All right, Jake, I close all of my interviews with 5 rapid fire questions, some with wrestling, some without. I got yours queued up. You ready to roll?
Let's do it.
All right, what is your favorite movie?
Ooh, Pulp Fiction.
That's a great one. Top 5 for me. Favorite match that you've had in your career? If you have one.
And off the top of my head, Rich Swann, XDivision title, beating him in Canada. That was awesome.
What's your favorite city?
LA.
What's your favorite food?
Tacos.
I love tacos. Always tacos. I have a taco tattooed on my wrist.
Yeah.
What is your favorite finisher that isn't yours?
Oh, the sharpshooter.
Absolutely one of mine. Jake, this is my favorite part of every episode. I get to ask you to plug your stuff and tell everybody what you have going on in the near future for them.
This weekend, top to bottom, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, two shows in Detroit, then Sunday in Louisville. Hit me up on my socials on Instagram and Twitter at the Jake Crist, Facebook Jake Crist.
Excellent, Jake. I appreciate you stopping by and chatting about some wrestling with me, sir.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.